soldier. On the battlefield, I am a hard-fighting soldier. On the battlefield, I am a hard-fighting soldier. On the battlefield, I keep on bringing souls to Jesus by the service that I give. I've got a helmet on my head, in my hand a sword and shield. I've got a helmet on my head, in my hand a sword and shield. I've got a helmet on my head, in my hand a sword and shield. I keep on bringing souls to Jesus by the service that I give. You gotta walk right, talk right, sing right.
Well, good morning. It is great to have you with me on my daily dose, and particularly today, we're in the midst of our Friday's Fighters. I have a friend of mine here with me, Brother Dennis Powers. And Dennis worships with the Austinville Church of Christ just outside of Decatur, Alabama. He's been there since 1977, worshiping as a faithful Christian, him and his dear wife Retha and their children. And so we're overjoyed to have him with us. Now, Dennis is a recent heart transplant recipient, such as I am, a little more recent. As a matter of fact, Lord willing, in the next week and a half or 2 weeks, Dennis will be released completely from the townhouse and everything, be ready to go home. And Dennis, I know you're looking forward to that. It's a special time to get out of the hospital. It's even more special, if that's the way to say it, to get all the way out to the house. And so that's what you look forward to. But Dennis has had a road similar to mine. Of course, I was born with a birth defect, and he wasn't. But nevertheless, once you get down a path where you're going in as heart failure and needing a heart transplant, things become very similar. So, Dennis, I think we'll start today, if you would, by telling us a little bit about what put you in the condition that you were, where you needed a heart transplant, and then go ahead and add the type of struggles that you dealt with during that time.
Well, I've had a history of heart trouble, my family, my parents and siblings, and so it wasn't totally unexpected, but in 1993 I had a massive heart attack, lost about a third of my heart. I had a heart attack that lasted for 4 hours, started at 11 o'clock one night, went to 3 o'clock in the morning, and it just stopped. And I lost about a third of my heart to that heart attack. And that sort of led to the beginning of my heart troubles from then on. And then in 1999, my condition had worsened, and I had to have open heart surgery, had quadruple bypass. 3 of those turned out well, one of them so-so. And then that lasted me until last year, first part of last year. My heart started deteriorating more to the point that my cardiologist told me that he had done all he could do for me, so he sent me down here to Birmingham to UAB to see about a heart transplant. And I was evaluated, and then I was turned down for a heart transplant because of other problems, my kidneys, diabetes, and things like that. So my only option at that time was to have an LVAD put in. And at first I was opposed to that. It was either do that or go home and make your funeral arrangements. And I went back home and started making my funeral arrangements.
Right.
I did not want to go through that. But my children and my family, my wife, they encouraged me, so I decided I would have it done, And when you have one of those LVADs, it's either one of two things. They're put in as a bridge to get you to a transplant,
Right.
or they're put in as final destination, to get you to whatever time left you might have. And that's what mine was destination. And that was in September of last year. And then July of this year, or actually in May, when I was in the hospital for bleeding, they decided to reevaluate me for a transplant. And they did the reevaluation. The LVAD had gotten my kidneys back functioning
Right.
normal. the rest of my body was sort of coming back to normal because of the help from the LVAD, to the point that I passed the evaluation and they listed me for a transplant.
Right.
And then about 6 weeks later, July the 21st, I received a new heart, which gave me a second chance at life. You know, I wrote something once on Facebook that twice in my life someone has died that I might live. The second time was wonderful, but it didn't compare to the first time, and that's when our Lord died for all of us. You know?
Right. That's a profound statement, and one that obviously that's the point of this program. It's not to just say, okay, there are strong people physically and emotionally. It's to say there are strong people spiritually out there, and that's what matters more than all. Let me explain about the LVADs. The LVADs is the left ventricular assist device. It's basically a pump that they add to your heart. Of course, you wear battery packs. It's kind of bulky. It's a headache, to say the least. Yeah. And it's one of those things that we as heart failure patients, if it's the last option, you go ahead and accept it, but it's not the most comfortable by far. The surgery is extremely dangerous to put it in, and there's a lot of if you will, maintenance to that, to keep that up, keep that going. So that's why, as he said, he went home to make funeral arrangements instead of doing the LVADs. Of course, as it happens, family will encourage you to do better. And many times, I know with me, when I first heard heart transplant, I was in the same boat. I'll just do without. But I looked at my children and how young they were, and I said, that's not an option anymore. We have to do it. And so regardless of the pain involved. But anyway, so you had to struggle with the heart attack, which was terrible, 4 hours. You struggled with getting the LVADs. And I was in the hospital, or leaving the hospital. I rang the bell the day that Miss Retha came out and said they're going to evaluate him again. And that just brought joy. I think I smiled all the way out the door, and it wasn't about me. But then received news that you got on the list. Now, after you get on the list, you referenced waiting till July. So tell me about that waiting period.
Well, like I say, I had come down in May. One of the things about the LVAD that's sort of common with that is GI bleeding. And so I was down just about the entire month of May with them trying to get the bleeding stopped. And they did, and it was while I was there that they surprised me and told me that they had decided to reevaluate me. And went through that process again. And then I was told that I had been approved, for a transplant. So I left and went home and waited. A month went by, no phone calls or anything, and I knew I was getting to the end. I wasn't doing well, and I had called and they told me they hadn't been doing any, just hadn't had any donors, really available. So then all of a sudden that changed, and I got a call one Thursday to come down for a heart transplant. I got down, they got me prepped, got me all the way to the doors of the OR. Nurse come out and says it's a no-go, said the heart is not good.
Right.
So we had to turn, and of course all my family were all keyed up and everything. So then we had to go back home, and then on Saturday, just a couple of days later, they called again and said, we got a heart for you. And I came down, and they got me to the OR door, and there stood the doctor and some nurses, So I'm thinking, what is he going to tell me,
That's right.
But he says, we got you a real good heart, which is
a different look when it's real.
Yeah,
I went through the false alarm, and you think you can tell, and you could tell there's a different situation.
Yeah. So they carried me on in and took the pump out, took my heart out, and then when my donor heart got there, they put it right in, and that was on Sunday morning. And someone had told me, said, wait until you wake up with that heart before you believe that you got it, because there are a lot of false alarms. Like I say, I got all the way to the OR door before getting turned down on one. And a lot of other folks have been through more turn downs than that.
Right. We've got a mutual friend that was turned down for 3 and finally got the 4th, and there are more that are more than that. Really, it's common. to at least get the call.
Yeah.
But some is the one I'm mentioning here. Bo Foster, he was turned down 3 times at the OR door, and then finally got one. So you're glad to wake up with a heart.
Yeah. It can be a lot of ups and downs in these things, but I guess the thing that sustained me through it all, of course, is my faith in God, that I had put everything in His hands. And so whatever was going to be, and I was fine with that. And that's something I learned from Job, because Job made what I think is the greatest statement made in the Bible by mortal, and that was when he made the statement, talk to the Lord, though you slay me, yet will I trust in you.
That's right.
That took a lot for that man to, and that just wasn't lip service. He lived it.
Right.
And I thought, how in the world could he do that? You know, how could he be that way? And looking at it, studying on it, it came down just to one thing: Job knew God.
That's right.
And when you know God, you can have the trust to put everything in His hands.
Right.
And let it go, and let Him take care of it.
Right. And I know that myself, and I know it's been mutual between us and some of us others. Charles Lawler is another member of the church recently to get a heart, and he's blessed to have that too. But we pray for one another, but I tend to pray even more for those recipients that don't know God, because I don't know how they have made it. I have no idea how they're going to make it. And so it's at least my hope. I'm trying to stir around in here and find these people and meet them, because if you don't know God, the heart that you have is not the heart that you need. You need the heart of God. And so He's definitely been in the midst of yours providentially and providing for you. There's several occasions where all of us could say, and you mentioned one off camera a moment ago, coming pretty near death as far as the doctors were concerned, but making a way for it to happen. So
yeah, you like I say, you just got to trust Him, and trust, is based on knowledge. Yeah, you've got to know God. To trust anyone, you've got to know Him. But when you come to know God, then you can put 100% into His hands and trust Him, and know that whatever the decision is, it's best for you.
that's right.
And knowing that, and knowing what kind of God He is, how loving He is, how could you not want Him to be the one to make the decision for you?
That's right. And we think about it sometimes physically as if, well, the doctors made a good choice, but if they made a good choice, whether they be a child of God's or not, I honestly believe if they made a good choice, God still made the choice. I mean, that's the way that it is. So
it's
God
all
leads
in the hand
these
of
things.
God. A good example in the Bible, of course, is the story about Joseph. His sons, his brothers came to the father and told him, he was dead, and you see this young man being carried off into captivity to a foreign land by strangers, stuff like that. And at that point, you can't see any good in that.
Right.
But as it unfolds,
Mm-hmm.
then you see
Amen
the
to
hand
that.
of God.
Yeah. And as he told his brothers, God meant it for good. And he wasn't talking about the
Yeah.
food in their hands and the money they received. He's talking about the whole situation, the slavery, all of it.
Yeah.
And God meant it for good.
And the thing about it, when you look at that story, you can see a lot of things in there that wasn't good. The father wasn't happy. The brothers probably, I'm sure, had guilt about it.
Right.
And of course, Joseph, the feelings he must have had. But so even when the hand of God is there, the road may not always be smooth. You have to accept that, but you have to trust that in the end, it will smooth out. It will be what's best for you.
Right. Well, when Paul kind of reiterated that story, not the story, but the thought behind it, that all things work together for good for him to know God and that such thing, the place where we miss it sometimes, maybe back with Joseph's situation, with Paul's statement, or with our lives, is the place we miss it, I think, is where we begin to think that God means for us to have a good physical health and good emotional health, when all that He looks for is spiritual.
That's right.
Now, if your physical can help your spiritual to grow, He'll work with that.
Yeah.
If the emotional needs improving, He'll work with that. But He's looking in the end, the good he wants is you to be strong spiritually and to be with him one day in heaven, to come home.
Yeah.
That's all that is. And so if we can keep that in sight, in spite of our problems, we improve every day. So.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason a lot of people have a problem with that verse, all things work for the good of them who love the Lord, because they're thinking of that verse in a temporal sense,
Right.
not in spiritual. And as far as the temporal, God says it's the same for everyone, sinner and saint alike. It's going to rain on the just and unjust.
Right.
So you can't apply that, the whole thing, why do bad things happen to good people? Well, bad things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people,
Right.
and so on. But that verse is talking about your spiritual welfare, and of course it's qualified even more, your spiritual welfare for those who love the Lord.
Right.
So.
And then he goes in the context to talk about what can separate you from the love of God, and you could easily put nothing.
Yeah.
Rather than that long list, it could say nothing.
Yeah.
Because that's what it in essence becomes.
Yeah. Yeah, so. He lists all the powers to be.
You're right.
None of them has the ability
Right.
to separate you from the love of God. People that don't have God in their lives just don't really realize what they're missing, because this life can be so much more for you
Right.
with God in your life than what it is. It's just a fraction of what it can be.
Right.
Of not having God in your life. And so forth, in so many ways.
Well, that'd be John 10:10. Jesus said the latter of that, I'm come that you might have life and you might have it more abundantly. And that word abundantly just means to overflow beyond our measures.
Yeah.
And that's the life that we need to be living, but we won't ever live that kind of life in a physical way. That's going to be because we have physical plus spiritual.
Yeah.
Spiritual is what overflows. So that's what we have to face, and that's what we have to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about this then. One of the things that I was blessed to do, the doctors, when my heart transplant was done, the doctors come in and say, this is the best heart we've seen in X number of years. And then I began my recovery, and they said, this is the best recovery we've seen in X number of years. And I got out in 13 days. And lo and behold, you got out in 15 or 14. I tried to count it myself.
I got it on the 21st. That was on a Sunday. I got out on Monday, a couple of weeks later or something like that, John.
Really close anyway. And, I was definitely proud of my recovery, but I tell you what, I was pulling for him more than I ever was for myself. And while the day I left, one of my nurses, and it wasn't you that had received a transplant, but she was picking at me and she said, I got a guy back here who's 70 some odd years old, and he's only been in here 7 days and he's about ready to go. I said, then let him go. I wasn't worried about having my record broke. But you did really well, and one of the things that I'm amazed at, you're not twice my age by any means, but Dennis is, did you say 68? I'm 38. And so, got that difference in there, but this man has done well. And so let me ask you this, I'll let you say it. Why? Why have you done so well? Are you a really healthy man? You exercise a lot? Is that all there is?
No, no. I would like to say I was in such bad shape physically, just not my heart, kidneys, diabetes, problems like that I was turned down. So no, it wasn't because, other than this one little thing,
right.
I was so bad they turned me down. But again, going back, it was just a hand of God in there that I did decide to have the LVAD put in, and that LVAD did help my rest of my body improve and get better to the point that they would reevaluate me and would give me the heart. So that was part of it, and again, that was the hand of God at work there. I see, looking back now, you can see it, and I was trusting all along, whatever would be, but the outcome was, what I wanted, what my family wanted, and a lot of it, I worried more about my family than I did me. Have I got everything prepared for my family?
Right.
Have I done everything for them? Even in '93 when I had that massive heart attack, my whole thought was, Lord, I'd like to have more time. I'd like to do this for my family and have this for my family,
Right.
But and of course the good Lord saw fit to extend my life and give me the opportunity. And of course, since the beginning, I have been praying not only for me, but I've prayed for the family of the donor.
Right.
That someone out there lost a loved one.
Right.
And that's has been on my mind since the beginning. And I have just written a letter to that family, expressing my gratitude to them and thanking them, for their gift of life that they've given to me.
And that's one of the things that I can relate to like no one else, other than others like us, that you just you have a different way of facing it every time you wake up. Some days you're just thankful, and some days it's just saddening, really. But at the end of the day, here's my goal, and I'll share it with you, and I'm assuming you're fixing to agree. I don't know who my person was, as far as I've recently found that an age and whether they're white or black or Hispanic, I know that type thing. I do know that, but I don't know whether they were Christian or not. I pray to God that they were. Of course, there's nothing that can be done if they weren't. But I know I'm a Christian, and I know what I can do, and I know the impact that I can have. And I figure if I've been given any situation, I've been given a situation to use it. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And I know that's what Dennis is doing with him, because I had no hesitation when I contacted you the other day about doing this program. You came right back with, yes, I would love to tell my story. And so that's what this is all about. So what other things would you want to mention before we close? Is there anything that you've left out you'd like to talk about? Or?
Well, the road, for everyone is going to have bumps in it along the way. You're going to have the ups and downs. Even a Christian who has the comfort of knowing that God is there for them are still going to have ups and downs.
Right.
One of the things throughout life that I've learned, because I've had, just like everyone else, I've had ups and downs, things change. And sometimes you'll get down and things won't look very good, and you'll really be disheartened and ready to throw in the towel and give up and quit. All I can tell you is don't quit no matter what. Things change. Give it a chance. Hold on, and just keep trusting in the Lord, and whatever His decision will be, it'll be the best for you.
Right.
But don't give up, no matter what it is. Things will get better.
Right.
I can say I guarantee it, but because I've experienced it, in my life. But the greatest thing is, just come to know and trust in the Lord, and everything will be okay.
That's right.
No matter what it is, everything will be okay.
That's right. Putting your trust in the Lord above all.
That's right.
You can't trust anybody else. I mean, we
I can't.
over time we learn to trust our wives,
Yeah.
and a few people in life, but none above God. And the only way to trust any of those is because we trust God to care for all of us. Well, Dennis, I definitely appreciate what you said, and he said so much off camera that I wish we could have included in this, but we've got what we do. And so I appreciate your openness about this. And let me emphasize in this, and I'm speaking on Dennis's behalf. I know mine. But if you have any questions or you need some advice, if you've got someone that's dealing with any kind of an illness, I pray that we'll be able to help you through your struggles, whatever it is, but especially those who are dealing with heart failure, needing some sort of a transplant, liver, lungs, kidneys, heart, whatever. I'll assure you we've gone through enough of it, and we're beginning to get used to the medications and all. But we can help you, and that's what we want to do. So there's an address that's going to come up on your screen about now, and it's going to be the Fridays Fighters address, and you're more than welcome to contact us and ask questions, and if need be, we'll give you a call, do whatever we have to do to help you and assist you with your struggles, whatever they are, but especially concerning transplants. Let me also mention the need for donors. My life would not have been spared, nor Dennis, nor anyone else in our situation. There have been about 14 just at UAB since my transplant whose lives have been spared because of a donor. And of course, it's a sad thing. In the case of hearts and lungs, the lives are lost, or else the donation wouldn't be made. But in spite of that, you signing up, whether it be on the internet on your driver's license down at the DMV, signing up to be a donor is a really, really big thing. It can make a difference. But more importantly, to let your family know. Your decisions, your choices will not be carried out unless your family knows that in that situation. So we just pray for our donors, my donor and his, and anyone like them. We thank you for your gift, the families who were allowed that to take place, and we're thankful for that. But we do need more donors. We've known people, I've met people in the hospital, unfortunately, while I was there for about 2 months, who if they had just had a donor, they'd still be sitting here. Matter of fact, I might be interviewing them today, but they lost their battle and they didn't make it. There wasn't a donor. So I pray that you'll be willing to donate if it be possible. But above all that, put your focus on the Lord, put your faith in Him. This has been your Friday's Fighters, and I pray that you've been encouraged.